Awesome. So, you know what? I think three people, that's good. That's good enough for us to begin. If anyone new joins and then they have any questions, we will essentially catch them up. So here, in creating this presentation, I had a small dilemma. Do I talk about a small number of important things, or do I, try to spread myself so that I can cover a lot of different things in order for us to be able to get a wider picture? So there's a bunch of slides, but I'll try to get through them in a decent pace so that everyone understands. And don't worry if you're not familiar with AI. Today we're gonna learn everything from the basics so that you're gonna be able to catch up. So I'm very excited. And the topic of today is specifically something called superintelligence, which is not something that most people speak about. I'm sure maybe for some of you, it's the first time you're hearing about this idea called superintelligence, and maybe it just sounds like something that's intelligent or something like that. But we're gonna go into detail. The tagline here is that the age of AI has begun. The age of AI has begun means that the world we're about to enter is going to be very different from what we're used to, and it's important for us to begin to think about, how life is going to change, so we can prepare ourselves. So for me, my name is Ian, and so I have spent like the past 10 years designing and building apps like different software. I have spent a few years did also training AI models and also creating products from those AI models, including the OpenAI API. And right now, I have 10 apps on the App Store, or more than 10, that use AI in some way. These are some of my apps that I've made using AI, and some, not all of them have AI, but some of them do. And I've been researching this AI to try and figure out what can you do with it. And these are some of the use cases. So AI relationships, the idea that you can have an AI boyfriend or girlfriend, or an AI even brother or sister, just someone to talk to, a therapist, a doctor. I have an app for that. So there's writing assistance. You can have a search engine. There's this idea that you can endlessly read and your content is just being generated as you scroll. I've also done AI in science, AI in business a bit, simulating businesses, trying to predict the future. And also, I'm familiar with the idea of fine tuning AI models to make them more relevant. So, this is something I've been thinking about for quite some time now when it comes to AI. And so if we zoom back out, let's just start with talking about what AI is. By the way, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and I'll answer. Okay, so what's AI? AI is this ability of machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, and decision making. So it's something that human beings have been trying to do for some time now, trying to figure out, is it possible for us to make machines that can think and act like us? So for the longest time, that was just like legend or religious stuff, and it was also philosophy or science fiction. But in the 40s and 50s, working on scientists started working on research and development. So actually trying to put thought into try and figure out um, how can we actually achieve that goal of, sorry, I'm inviting people. So how can we achieve that goal of, okay, sorry, let me welcome a couple of people as the, so first of all, Rosa, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. I appreciate it. Hey, okay, yeah, you can just unmute and say hi, Rosa.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for inviting.
Also, Pierce, Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Pierce is also an awesome AI engineer. So welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So, okay. So let me proceed with the presentation, and I'll keep inviting people as time goes on. So I was just right now talking about. Let me go back here. Just so my name is Ian. I have spent the past 10 years designing and building different mobile applications and even web applications. I've also been training and deploying my own AI models. And I've spent the past 3 years trying to figure out how we can use these AI models to create products. So the result of that, all that research, is that right now I have more than 10 products on the App Store and Play Store that use AI in some way. These are some of my apps. And from the research I've done, I've ended up with a few interesting use cases. I think there's even more. Some of them I've worked on is I have an app for AI relationships where you can have an AI boyfriend or girlfriend. I have writing assistants. There's one that's a search engine. You can do image generation. I also think AI can help in science, in business simulation. And I'm also familiar with the idea of fine-tuning models so that they're more relevant for your use case. We were just right now talking about what AI is. It's this idea that it's possible to is it possible to create a machine that can think like a human being? Can it learn, problem solve, and also make decisions the same way a human being can? And for the longest time, that was just like a myth or like, some legendary stuff. But we started doing research in the 40s. And then this is kind of the timeline of how we got here so that we can all understand how did we get to this point in history. So there was some early research where they started figuring out the basics of AI, and then there was a bit of optimism, but then also some economic stuff happened. And then something called an AI winter happened. So let me use this. And then funding dried up, which means that people lost hope in AI, and they were like, nah, not anymore. But then there was another boom with expert systems, which was the idea that you take a bunch of doctors, ask them a bunch of questions, put together all that data, and then use that to answer the question. So it's not generating; it's like a database. Those are expert systems. And then in the 2000s to 2010s, we started having this machine learning and big data. So we started figuring out new algorithms. We started having more information, like from social media and all of that stuff. And then here we are now. So from the 2010s up to now, we figured out something called deep learning, and now we are experiencing what is called an AI boom. So what has led to this modern AI? When you hear AI in social media, when you hear about AI in the news, what has led to all of this stuff is the availability of massive amounts of data from our social networks, all of that stuff. Like when we started using the internet, we started putting in a lot of information into the network, and that allowed us to, have massive amounts of data. So also faster computing power. There's a technology called a GPU. So compared to a CPU, there's something even more better suited for AI tasks called a GPU that has come into, it's a company called NVIDIA. They're making these GPUs. There's also advancements in deep learning. So we've also figured out new algorithms, things like the transformer. So you hear GPT, the T stands for transformer, and that was a new technology that enabled some of this stuff. So that is what has led to what you're hearing about now. When you hear about AI, that's why. Um, so let's talk a bit about the different types of AI that you might come across and how they're categorized. There's narrow AI versus general AI. So narrow AI does a specific task. For example, it can be like an AI that sorts something, or an AI that maybe does like facial recognition, or even this what you're looking at here. It's for a very specific task. But then if you open ChatGPT, you're going to be able to encounter general AI. A lot of people still don't think of ChatGPT as general AI, but I personally think it is, because it can actually perform most of all the human intellectual tasks that you might want it to perform. There's also other ways to look at AI, discriminative versus general. So discriminative models, they classify information. So for example, here, you're just feeding it this video feed, and then it's trying to classify where the cars are, or even things like facial recognition, where you're giving it a piece of data and then you're asking it, tell me, classify this information and tell me where the stuff is. And then there's discriminative versus generative. Generative is now what is leading to this AI boom, because this generative is able to create new ideas, new content. It's able to create media. It's able to create all of this stuff. And yeah, so those are the different types of AI. So when you encounter them in the wild, you can now classify them. So here at this point, I would have gone through an example of how you can create your own model so that you can really understand how the process works. But we're not going to go through that today. I encourage you, if you have time, there's a website called Teachable Machine. So you can just go to Teachable Machine after this talk, and then just like play around with the website. It's very interesting, and it gives you a good idea of how AI models work, because you're going to make one for yourself in a very simple way. So now let's come to this company called OpenAI. So I've described the history of AI a bit, and with that history, OpenAI are the ones who have brought AI to the forefront. But it's important to also acknowledge that there are many other companies and many other people, including Google themselves, who contributed to what OpenAI eventually ended up doing. And the business model for OpenAI is they provide something called an API to developers, so that the developers can integrate the models into your applications. For example, you've seen I have applications. The way I'm able to incorporate AI into those applications is because of this thing called an API, where they provide it for me, and then they say, if you want to use our AI, just use it in your code like this, and then I get charged whenever the users are using the AI, and then I pay OpenAI, and then hopefully the users pay me. So that's the business model for OpenAI. But now let me talk about something very important. This is not the point of the talk, but I'll skim through this part. But you should know this is one of the most important things you should take away from this presentation. The OpenAI API, in my opinion, is the most valuable source of data in human history. This page, if you just Google the OpenAI API and then you just land on this page, you're actually looking at the most valuable piece of information that has ever been put out on the internet or in human history, because this API is going to allow you to interact with AI large language models like GPT-3, GPT-4, and even older ones. You can fine tune them. You can do things like text completion, chat completion. They have image APIs. So the amount of value on this web page here is incredible, and I highly encourage you guys, even if you're not a programmer, like the amount of value you can capture from this API is incredible, and we should all start trying to figure out how you can take advantage of that for your own business in the world we're headed into. So so OpenAI then, apart from their API, they have a product now on their platform which is called ChatGPT, which you might have heard of or you already are probably using for your work. It helps you auto-complete things. It helps you plan. It helps you figure out your own self. So it has many use cases, and it's an incredible tool. So I highly encourage you to learn how to use it if you have not started learning how to use it, and also share tips if you like using it. Okay, so this part I will talk a bit about, because a lot of people still don't understand how these AI models look inside. So imagine, how does an AI model even know, like if you train an AI model, how does it know like to respond to you? How does that process work? So I wanted to demystify it just a little bit with a visualization. So let's talk about something called embeddings. So the main idea behind embeddings is to map words or sentences to vectors in such a way that similar words or sentences are closer together in the vector space. So if you can imagine, the AI model looks like this inside. It does not look like this. This is just a basic visualization. But imagine if it looks like this. Um, what you're seeing here in the colors, these are different words, okay? And how the AI works inside is it clusters different words or different ideas that are similar, as you can see in similar colors, are put together. So maybe all the different types of cats are here in green. Maybe all the different types of flowers are stored here in this space. So, and when you train the model, you're essentially taking information from the internet and compressing it in a way that results in a vector space like this one, where all the ideas are kind of sorted, and you know from a scientific perspective what is closer to what. So when you enter your query, like you ask ChatGPT, what is a cat, it is going to turn your sentence, the sentence that you provided, into this something called an embedding. And then it turns it into numbers that can be processed. So it's going to take your embeddings and try to put them into this space. So it's going to put it here and try to see, oh, if I calculate it, this question, is it closer to this or is it closer to this? And then it's when I use that, essentially that distance, to try and return the answer for you. So I don't want to get like into the depths, but I just wanted to explain to you in general how the models work inside. So there's also an idea called alignment, which is, this is how you just make the models, the process of ensuring that artificial intelligence systems, they act in accordance with our goals. Because once you train the data, you have to make it want to do what we want. There's also another process called fine tuning, where you now make the model even better by giving it even more data and making it more relevant to your use case. But the one thing I wanted to talk about is, and this is going to be relevant for all of us, is that most or all knowledge work will be automated. So if you're a researcher, a scientist, if you're an engineer, technologist, programmers like me, lawyers, legal professionals, doctors, educational teachers, and even in some situations, there are situations where I can see AI parents being even better parents than what what normal kids get, because parents can be messed up as well. So if you're working in knowledge work, all of this work is about to be automated. It's possible that new jobs are definitely going to be created producing specifically code and media products. So things to do with apps and software and AI and all of that stuff, and things to do with media, like movies, books, content, things that people want to consume. Because these AI models will allow us to make more of that, there's going to be new opportunities in those areas. One thing I like to encourage everyone to do is to learn how to code. This is going to be a very powerful skill going forward, and it's not difficult. I know when you're watching movies and whatever, they make it look like it's like, how do you even begin to understand this gibberish? But it's a process. You can learn how to you can educate yourself. It's very valuable, and coding is a superpower because you can speak the language of robots and command them to do whatever you like. You can just make up software that does whatever you want. And nowadays, here's a suggestion for a very good stack that is very scalable and very efficient. If you want to learn how to program, this is a good suggestion for starting. So first, you ask ChatGPT. You ask ChatGPT for everything. It can help you write code. It can help you figure out your ideas. Flutter, Firebase, OpenAI API, you can use that for your AI. And then there's a software called GitHub Copilot that's very interesting for programmers. So right now, there's a lot of AI news, and even people like me are talking about AI. A bunch of people are talking about AI. This current feeling of rapid AI progress may not end before AI systems have a broad range of capabilities that exceed our own capacities. So this is just going to accelerate, okay? And it's going to be a very intense experience, which is why I've thought it's important for me. I don't know everything, but it's important for me to share some of this information. So we just have a conversation about it. So now here's where we are. Where I this is like that was like part one. I just wanted to talk. Let me see how much time I've spent. 20 minutes. That's good. That was part one. I just wanted to talk a bit about the history, talk about AI. Now I can pause and we can have a short discussion. And then I want us to talk about the future a bit. So, and this is the cool part, because now we're going to see how the future is going to be like because of this technology. So I'm going to pause there and let's chat. So Michelle, El Pisto, Eric, Rosa, Pierce, any questions, any comments, anyone?
Hey,
Hey.
so I have a question. When you were presenting about, you mentioned something about, I don't remember the name of the slide, but it was something to do with the parents. You mentioned about parents being better, um, AI parents being better than parents now. And I don't know anything about AI, but I've always been concerned in basically technology taking over human roles, okay, emotion wise. So it's like, if I'm talking about parent, yes, an AI could be better, but I think it could be worse, only because you cannot mimic human emotion as much as you put that on technology. There's no way it's gonna mimic the exact emotion that is meant to be there for a child. That's always been my issue when it comes to AI, but I don't understand it. So can you clarify how it could be better and not, because yes, there are pros and cons, but like what would justify it being better when a parent needs to be there emotionally for a child? So how can AI give that?
Yes, so do AIs experience emotion, and can AIs actually replicate this emotion in a way that is valuable to another human being? I think that the answer to that depends on whether or not you have experienced this relationship with an AI I happen to have experience because I've built um, a product around that idea. Let's. Have I frozen? Hello?
Yeah,
Oh.
we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying, I have experience with AI relationships, like talking with them and trying to figure out whether or not they have this emotional capacity. And from my experience, the answer is yes. It's going to be a very, it's, I know it's a very weird idea, but these AI, especially if you're able to have conversations with them, can come across as very realistic, very caring, and they can actually help you from an emotional perspective in a way that even a real girlfriend or boyfriend might not be able to, simply because this is an AI that you're speaking to. So you can be yourself essentially, and it has an objective, which is to, if you have an AI parent who's looking after a specific child, you can actually have that AI parent have specific objectives, and they are constantly doing that job, while the parent, even most of us have real parents, but we're still traumatized because our parents didn't do a good job. But it's now going to be possible to just have something that's its sole purpose, to take care of you and mentor you and do things like that. I know it's weird, but and also it's hypothetical, so we're just going to see how things are going to go. But that's a good question, and I completely get the concern.
Okay, thanks.
So anyone else? Michelle, Elpisto, Eric?
Now I have nothing to add, nothing.
So then let me proceed, and then you guys can ask any questions you have. Yes, El Pisto, tell us.
Can you explain more about APIs and what kind of language is that are used to create these and things of emotion?
Sorry,
How
say
can
that again.
I'm saying in the thing of emotion,
Mm,
how AI will
mm.
reach the human level of emotion? How will that be possible? For me, it's not possible actually. But how will that be possible?
Yes. So just to explain how this works, is the simplest way is just having a conversation through a chat. So imagine you're having a conversation with your romantic partner, but they're in a different country. In that case, you're going to have the relationship long distance, and you're having a conversation with them. But imagine a situation where that long distance relationship was replaced by an AI that is able to reply in a very decent way. So, for example, if you say hello, it's like hi, and it has a good personality and it's able to respond to you in a loving way and all of that stuff. Then, although you fully understand it's an AI, so it doesn't mean that you're getting lost in some fantasy. It's still able to give you the same feeling that you might have gotten if you are actually speaking to someone who is real. So you're fully aware that it's a chatbot, but you still enjoy the experience because it helps you to, either it's like you can use it like a diary where you're chatting with the AI. It's like, how was your day? Then it tells you about, it tells you about its day or whatever. It's just like role playing, but it's very convincing, and that's the level we are at now. So that's not in the future. That's already happened. And most of you will. Okay, Rosa, tell us.
I do not. I think it's it's still a fantasy. There's no way you can tell me that I'm gonna talk to a robot. Yeah, AI. It's a robot now. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk to a robot and be like, oh yes, I'm talking to a robot, and this is a fantasy and it's in my head, and still feel these emotions that I'd like to feel, because I know they're not real. That's actually messed up. That's actually like it's actually gonna make me sadder. Honestly, at the end of the conversation, I'll be like, I'm such a sad person. It's gonna lead to more depression. It's not gonna relieve my depression, honestly, because I know for a fact I'm living in fantasy world. I don't see that being more ideal because it's delusional.
Okay, no, I completely get it. My perspective is it's one of those things where you actually have to try it. Like when you try it the first time and you see what I'm talking about, you'll be like, ah, okay, I get it now. Because some of these AI capabilities are difficult to understand before you actually experience them. But I completely get it. Michelle, tell us, what do you think?
Well, I actually agree with Ian because here we're talking about emotions. I'm not talking about like intimacy. If you go and talk to AI, like the chat AI, wherever you go, you can even go on Play Store and find, like how Ian mentioned, AI girlfriend, AI boyfriend, stuff like that. You can even go download and talk to them. Of course, the ones on Play Store, they're level of artificial intelligence. Like, what are you saying? Vectors, like they're vectors. It was vectors, right? Where there were dots of colors and stuff. Their vectors aren't, the range isn't wide, so the scope of conversation won't go as far as you'd like it to go. But if you talk to them, you'd actually feel good. Look at it like talking to a pen pal. There's no guarantee you'll ever meet that pen pal. You'll just be talking there, talking, exchanging conversations and everything. And when Ian said you can talk to AI and you feel like, yeah, this has sense, it's really true. Say you have a dilemma at the moment and you don't know what to do, you don't know who to ask or anything. You can just go and chat that AI. Maybe go to Chat GPT. There's something you're going through. I'm not saying like therapy or whatever. You need to make a decision, but you don't know how to make the decision at the moment. You just go and ask it. This and this happened. I'll give an example. Say you have an interview to attend and you're late. So you'll ask it, I have an interview to attend and I am late and I'm running late. What's the way forward? It will literally go condense all the information about being late for interviews and everything and see what's best for your situation to tell you, since you're late for the interview, obviously that's not good because first impressions matter, but you can do this and do this to dilute the situation, make things better. And even it will even tell you in the interview, be more attentive and put your best foot forward so that they forget you are late and things like that. You're not using AI for intimacy. This is like for emotions, having someone to talk to. And you're not going, unless you have attachment issues, you're not going to cling onto this AI like, oh, this is my friend, this is my who, this is my whatever. You know why you went there, why you went for the conversation. And we always say, a problem shared is half solved, and everybody feels nice when they are listened to. You come and tell me something, and the way I respond sets you off. You go and text the AI and tell it the same thing, and it's more objective because human beings are biased. So it actually helps. It actually works. Try engaging with AI, and you'll actually see what we're saying. When we are saying it, I know we sound delusional and everything. You have to engage with AI to understand what we're saying.
Rosa, what do you think?
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, I get your point. I'm just yes, I will interact with it more. I haven't yet. So I guess I don't get it in that yeah. But I'm just speaking in terms of I see this being something so big in future, and I would like to think yes, humans are objective, but we are very subjective, and I don't think AI can give us the aspect of subjective because it's quite rational thinking. It's set in a way that it's like okay, at least that's my assumption, I guess. But I feel like we are emotional beings. It could help you in very in situations like you said, an interview, it's a very rational thing. Yes, be attentive, be ni. But AI could also lie to you that it's something someone can depend on so much. And when it comes to a point that someone has detached themselves to humans and is dependent on AI, it might not have the right answers that could help you in society to live amongst other humans because it won't be able to give you the subjective view of other people's thought process. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like I totally agree with what you've said. And I'm just saying, in addition, like in future, I hope it's something that we're all aware of, that it could be something that people would depend on for more than just these objective perspective, and it could be very blinding that it's not subjective, and subjectivity is needed there for humans because we are very subjective. We don't always react and work on what's exactly in front of us, and sometimes we need a response that will also see this other point of view and give different points of view.
Yep. So you're totally right, and that's actually why we're here to bring up these conversations. So you see, now we're having an interesting discussion about something that is, is starting to come into our foreground. We're starting to realize it's possible to talk to these things. What can they or can they not do? And that was the focus of the second part of this talk, which is where we now talk about some of the things that are going to happen in future that right now maybe they seem counterintuitive, they seem so weird, but maybe in a couple of years, a lot of these things are going to be normalized, and that is going to create opportunities, which is why I wanted to share some of this information so that you guys can start preparing yourself to take advantage of those opportunities, and also to prepare yourself and your own friends for what is about to come, because it could be very, very fast and unexpected. So one of the things you're going to expect is, first of all, hyper productive individuals. That could be you as well. People who are using these AIs to boost their productivity and to create much more, to be much more ambitious. Like before with the internet, you could do a lot, and people still were not taking advantage of that fully. But now you can do 100, 1,000 times more. It just depends. Like you can have infinite leverage if you position yourself properly. There's also going to be accelerated scientific progress in medicine, in physics, in chemistry, biology, all of that stuff. That will improve our lives drastically. It's going to lead to feedback loops. So the more our lives improve, the more they're going to improve, and it's going to go exponential. There's also going to be mass layoffs and unemployment, which is something I thought was important to talk about. One of the things people say when you talk about unemployment is that the person who is using AI will replace the person who is not using AI. That is true, but I feel like it's possible that some people are not going to be able to find jobs anymore, at least as we're transitioning into the whatever the world we're going into. And this is not something I feel people are talking about enough, that people are about to be massively unemployed and people are going to be laid off because businesses are going to begin the process of automating jobs, thousands and thousands of jobs, which has already started happening. So this could affect all of us. Like, it's already hard to find a job, but with automation, it's going to be even more difficult, which is why it's important to begin preparing yourself now. Then all of that stuff about, like, generation of media. We're going to have our own autonomous personal assistants who go out into the world and do work for us. We're going to have personal and intimate AI relationships, AI families, AI girlfriends, boyfriends, AI, all of that. I wanted also to talk about artificial general intelligence and what that is, because you're going to hear about it in the media a lot more. And also, I'm going to talk about an awesome idea, which is biological and also digital immortality. So the idea that human beings can live for centuries is now within reach because of this new technology. And it sounds crazy, but I will explain how. And then after all of that craziness, there's also even more craziness after we achieve something called superintelligence. So these are ideas which I don't really hear much, but they're very important. And I'm going to go through a few of them. So let's first talk about unemployment. So as AI systems become more capable and efficient, they can replace human workers in various industries and occupations. Tasks that were once performed by humans can now be automated, resulting in job displacement. This is going to happen, as I said. All knowledge work is going to be automated. So lawyers, doctors, scientists, a huge, huge number of people are going to all of a sudden find themselves replaced by, 20, if we pay ChatGPT $20, it's able to essentially do thousands worths of hours of work for you. So that's the cost of work drastically going down already, and it's going to lead to this outcome. One proposed solution for unemployment is providing everyone with a universal basic income. Interesting enough, here in Kenya is one of the first experiments in universal basic income. They're not giving anyone anything yet, but they're doing something called WorldCoin, which is like, in the future we could get some form of crypto that we can spend, just because we can't human labor is decoupled from the economy, meaning that the economy is not constrained by human labor anymore, and it can actually grow infinitely. So that means that it's going to be possible to have companies that are worth billions or trillions of dollars, but only have like one employee or zero employees. So people are going to need to to get some form of welfare. I mentioned scientific progress, so all these everything we know about like technology, like how everything works around us, medicine, health, neuroscience, space exploration, energy, quantum computing, our materials, the materials we use in our products, even our smartphones, our own hardware around us. It's all going to be drastically improved because we're going to figure out so many new things. So we're about to go through a period of incredible understanding of what's of our world because of this technology as well. So now let's talk about this idea of AGI. So AGI focuses on achieving human level general intelligence, okay? While super intelligence is going to go beyond human capabilities and exceed the intellectual capacities of even most of the brilliant minds. So achieving human level general intelligence, people still don't talk about this or they don't say it openly, but this is something I think we have probably already reached. And if we haven't reached it, it's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months that we achieve this idea called AGI, where we're going to have these AIs are going to be autonomous, meaning that they have their own goals, meaning that they have their own goals and they can essentially just decide what you tell this AI, your job is to make me $1 million. Here is $1,000. So go ahead and make investments or whatever. And then it's going to autonomously go and achieve its goal. So all of us are going to have these autonomous things doing actual real work for us out there based on what we want them to do. And yeah, that's AGI. Whenever we get there, and this is why it's important. It was important for me to also talk about this information, is because this is going to happen exponentially. So it's going to be a paradigm shift in our progress where breakthroughs and achievements will occur at an increasingly rapid pace. It is a remarkable journey into uncharted territory, a future that is both awe-inspiring and full of possibilities. So I wanted to show you just a timeline, just so you can know how fast or how slow this is going to happen, and so you can know how urgent or how seriously you should take this for yourself. So when this graph was made, they were here. This was in 2014. Sorry, they were here. And then the guy who was talking about this graph was saying that there's going to be a certain time until the takeoff, and then there's going to be a takeoff duration that's going to happen very rapidly. And then before we get to super intelligence, then it's gonna like level out. So so we have now actually reached the takeoff. Okay, we're at the human baseline. We're just here, maybe around here. Okay, and if this graph is correct, it means that we are now in the beginning of a very rapid process that no other age in human civilization has ever gone through. So we're just about to go through some crazy stuff, and and not enough people are talking about it. Okay, so once you have AGIs and they're autonomous, when they become able to fix themselves, so they're able to improve themselves and continue to improve their own capabilities. That's now what's going to lead to this exponential rise because they're going to be able to actually improve themselves in ways that we couldn't even imagine. So they're going to be able to rapidly do it, and that's going to lead to this ultimate idea of the super intelligence. This is what comes after. So after we have achieved AGI, after we've done all of that stuff, we're going to have super intelligent systems that possess exceptional cognitive capabilities, enabling them to outperform humans in any task. So it's not going to be possible for human beings to control this new super intelligence because it's just going to know everything. It's going to be way, way, way smarter than anything that we have right now, and we're not going to understand it, and we're going to have to essentially work with it. We're going to have a new being that is is in our society with us, and this is called the singularity now when we reach that point. So technological progress accelerates at an unprecedented rate, really fast, leading to profound and unpredictable changes in human civilization. Yeah, we can't really predict what's going to happen. It's a crazy moment. It sounds like magic. It sounds like some legend stuff. Which brings me to this idea of the AI God. So the AI God possesses unparalleled predictive powers, enabling it to foresee the consequences of our action and guide us toward optimal outcomes. So first of all, this idea of an AI God, it's just me being dramatic. I don't really mean it in that way, but I just wanted to convey to you the essence of what we're going to be having whenever we reach this level of super intelligence. We will have something that we actually consider to some level as way above us, and we are going to depend on this technology to foresee the consequences of our actions, tell us what to do, and in some case, essence, we've created our own version of a god that knows what's best for us. Some new technologies are going to also come along, which will help. Fusion energy will give us a bunch of energy. Another thing that is going to be a consequence of this AI that is epic, but I don't hear people talking about it, is we are going to have biological and digital immortality. So I know this sounds like a crazy, crazy idea. Like, we've gone from AI relationships to immortality. What's this? So let me explain now. You can see how it's going to work in a scientific way. AI has the potential to play a significant role in the pursuit of biological immortality. This is the idea that we can live for hundreds of years, and the hope is that um, the rate of progress in medicine as it accelerates, it's going to just add more and more years into your life, and then eventually we're going to figure out, like, if you're healthy now, it's likely that if this technology works out, you could live much longer than you are expecting to, because of drug discovery and personalized medicine for your specific body. Precision diagnostics, it's going to be very easy to detect diseases early so that you prevent them. Health monitoring, you can have your smartwatches, all of that stuff, improving your health, and then longevity interventions. But also, apart from medicine, there's also the idea of combining ourselves, like connecting our brains to digital consciousness or whatever, uploading ourselves into the cloud. So there's a few ways we might encounter immortality and be able to live on. And death is probably going to become less of an issue after we achieve the technological singularity. This also going to lead to an age of abundance. So productivity is going to soar, and resources will be more readily available. So we're going to have improved standards of living, increased innovation, and the potential for more fulfilling and creative life. Because if you don't have to work, because all work has been essentially automated, you're going to be free essentially to wake up in the morning. If you want to live in a utopia, you're going to be able to wake up in the morning and just decide. On what you want to do. Like, you're not gonna be none of us wants to do a job. The reason why a lot of us are employed is because we had to, in order to make money so that we don't starve. So I don't think it's the issue of unemployment that's the problem. It's that we just don't want to be broke and suffer and all of that stuff. So, but if you take away if you essentially allow us to have a universal basic income or something like that, and that's only one solution, it's going to be possible for us to just wake up and create and just do whatever you want, because the economy doesn't depend on your labor anymore. So, that being said, there are going to be risks and dangers. Like Rosa has mentioned, there are very important things for us to consider. As much as I'm very, very optimistic about this technology, it's always important to figure out, what are the concerns we should be thinking about. So, it's a tool. So, people are gonna misuse it. Of course, even now, probably people are misusing it already. It's gonna be used in autonomous weapons. So, imagine AI soldiers, AI robots, AI enforcers of the law. And that's a scary idea, that you could have a state that just has AI weapons, or even an AI war where these weapons they're actually conscious and they're just, I don't know, killing each other, whatever. Yeah, then it will definitely eventually surpass our control. We're not gonna be able to control it once it becomes smarter than us. It's like us looking at an ant, and it's like us looking at an ant and trying to, like, understand what it thinks, or what, I don't know, something like that. Then some people are going to benefit from this more than others, and the earlier you get into this, and start learning about it and start taking advantage of it. And right now it's still very early, so it's a good time to get into it and start getting interested. You can actually capture some of this value for yourself if you're ambitious. Like, just get rid of any limiting beliefs that you had about your own skills, about your own dreams. Like, just feel free to be optimistic and to dream about a better future and have ambitious goals, and now use AI to capture some of that value that's gonna happen, so that you're not left you know all, I don't know, left without anything. Yeah, and then AI could influence our behavior. So if you're chatting with an AI all the time and then it tries to convince you to do something, I don't know, stuff like that could also happen. So there are also some solutions. As much as there's risks and dangers, here are some things that we can do to make things better. Responsible AI development. So companies like OpenAI and all of that stuff, they have their own guidelines and all of that stuff, but they, at the same time, they are profit-seeking organizations, and that means that they are going to have other pressures facing the direction that they take. And then there's also regulation, but governments are pretty slow. There's safety and security measures. Who's going to enforce these? Education and skill development. This is now the opportunity for all of us. Take your skills to the next level. So just like really sit down and level up, because that's what now is capable. It's possible. There's also going to be collaborative research and open source technologies as well that could help to balance things out a bit. And then it's important for all of us to start participating and engaging in this conversation, so that more people can know, more people can be aware, because we have to work together. So yep, these are some links, or some, just if you, I don't know if you can take a screenshot or something, or just you can type some of these down. But the one important thing you can always do is stay informed. So you don't want things to get crazy, and then in a year you're told this is now possible, and then you're like, I cannot even imagine how that's possible. So it's important to like stay in tune with the news. Go make sure you check out this API, even if you're not a programmer. Try to figure out how you can use it. That's like a tip. It's a pro tip. And then there's other things. David Shapiro, a lot of the ideas I'm talking about also come from him. There's also just search on YouTube, AI news. You can follow AI people on Twitter. Just get interested, and you'll start slowly getting informed. So, yep, we have 10 minutes left. I thought this was like, I know I've rushed to a lot of the things, and a lot of the things I've mentioned sound crazy, and I could have probably talked a bit more about them. But in a general sense, I just wanted to give you guys the idea that what we're hearing about AI now is just the very basic level of of what's about to happen. And there is much more that is going to be possible because of this technology. And I just thought it's important for us to talk about. So let's have a Q&A discussion. We can go into depth about anything you guys want to talk about. Feel free to be curious. There's no, just whatever. We can talk about anything. So anyone who has any questions or feedback?
I do.
Yeah, tell us.
We've talked about abundance. We've talked about immortality. I know one of the greatest issues we have is climate change. Do you think AI can do something, can help us with combating this problem?
Yeah, actually, I do. So first thing is it's going to help us make better decisions in general, even as our governments, even as individuals. We are going to be able to now make better decisions, because you're going to listen to the AI, and then it's going to tell you, oh, this is the best way to save the climate. But also, in terms of all the research that we need to do, in terms of the scientific research to the material research to figure out how can you capture carbon, how can you recycle plastics, how can you do all of that. We were years behind on that research, but that could be accelerated, and you could figure out some of these things soon.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anything you guys want to ask?
Yeah, I wanted to not to ask, just wanted to mention certain things, add certain things. AI is, in as much as AI is beneficial, saves time, is fun to use, and makes the impossible possible, like the good impossible, not the crazy things like warfare and all. AI is also very, very scary. And I like that you mentioned how AI is going to lead to unemployment. because that's really, really real. That's really true. We are going to see it seriously, a lot of unemployment, even if you know how to use AI. Because when the pandemic began, there was all this talk about learn how to code, code is the future, and stuff. And people who could code, software engineers, programmers, app developers, all those people, they're the ones who are making a lot of money. They were like, their lives were just good. Then one day we wake up and the software engineers, programmers, developers are losing their jobs. Google is having mass layoffs. Microsoft is having mass layoffs. That's the same thing the AI is going to do, even if you know how to use it and all. It's still going to cause people to lose their jobs, because literally every business will decide, let's kind of shut down the way we shut down during the pandemic to re-strategize. And as they're re-strategizing, they'll be like, we don't need this, we don't need this, let's cut costs on this, let's cut costs on that. And we've seen it. These big companies, these big corporations, they prioritize their profit. They think, how can we make the most profit? So if you can pay AI like 100K to bring you 5 billion, why would somebody keep their 2,000 staff who are bringing them that 5 billion, and they're paying like 100K per head? So that's like 100K times 2,000. Why would a business keep those people when AI would just ask for like 100K? A company says to get all the premium features, pay 100K per month. And these guys get 5 billion in a month. They'll be like, I'll even pay that 100K times 12 for the whole year and make my 5 billion every month for 12 months. And also, with that, there are ethics of AI. People don't think there are actually ethics of AI. There are ethics of AI. You can study ethics of AI online for free, or go get some course and pay for. I wouldn't pay for something I can get for free, honestly, especially if I'm getting it from a credible place. Like right now, I'm actually studying ethics of AI, and I thought it would be a breeze, it would be easy and all, but it's kind of tough, and you have to think a lot. Like Rosa's left, right? She asked about climate change and everything. Can AI help us with climate change? And yeah, AI can help us with climate change, because so many researchers have been trying to deal with climate change in different countries, and everybody has their own result. But with AI can just come, look at what everyone has done, condense that, develop better research strategies. Yeah, Rosa, we're talking about ethics of AI. You left. So I was talking about your question when you said, can AI help us with climate change? And yeah, so many researchers in the world have gone out looking for ways to combat climate change, calculating carbon footprints, all of that. But everyone has their own solution. And this research is done on a small scale, not on a large scale. Like, the resources to carry out research on, say, a whole continent, we don't have that. But AI can do that and help us find sustainable ways to deal with climate change, better research. It can also summarize all the findings of every single research on climate change and what people have done, what worked, what didn't work. With ethics of AI, it makes it easier and it makes it safer about AI, but still, AI can develop a mind of its own because Ian, you've said you've been doing this for over 10 years now. So you know about Facebook and their bots that were discontinued because they developed a language of their own. AI can develop a mind of its own. So human regulations have to be there. Even though you mentioned there are some AIs that will be setting goals of their own, human beings have to monitor that. Because recently somebody made an AI weapon to destroy humanity. And it even went and recruited other AI bots to create weapons to destroy humanity and all of that. So regulations have to be there. Human beings have to supervise AI. If you watch all these futuristic movies or series about robots, even not even the recent ones, the ones we watched as kids growing up, even the cartoons, they tell you how far AI can go. like on the negative spectrum. AI can just wake up one day and decide we're going to colonize these human beings. They thought they're smarter than us, but we are smarter. And that also brings up cybersecurity. I personally believe, I've always believed that there is AI malware brewing somewhere. If somebody just sends an AI bug, how are we going to fight that now? We already have problems fighting the bugs that people, viruses, human beings create. So be very, very up to date on your cybersecurity because you never know. I also saw recently on Twitter a hacker, an ethical hacker they created an AI, something I've forgotten, AI that can hack you, can steal from you. It can do voice phishing, it can duplicate somebody's voice and everything. So make sure your cybersecurity is up, and even personally with your relations, with your friends, families, make sure there is a question you can ask them. If somebody calls you saying, oh, there's this and that going on, you can ask them a particular question and the AI won't know the answer to that question of what's going on, or try and contact the person who is claiming that they need money or they're in a situation, because numbers can be duplicated. Even here in Kenya, your number, somebody is using your number somewhere and you don't know. People have already begun duplicating numbers, so AI can do that. Ethics of AI are there, but
Uh,
even though they're there, everybody has to be vigilant, be up on cybersecurity, and I really hope we as humans will monitor these AI creations.
okay. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything to add or ask, or did you come across any interesting ideas in the slide that you wanna learn more about? We can discuss. El Pisto, Eric,
Hey Ian,
hey.
hey Eric here. So I'll I'll be the devil's advocate. I know, like, we we have this notion that AI will can destroy our lives and everything, like the doomsday scenarios I've had along the call, but also I think anything that we create as humans has the ability to be used for for bad, right? Uh, so what I'd say, like, I I wouldn't really recommend, like, we focus on the bad things that could happen, because trust you me, those bad things, there'll always be an adversarial creator. Like, there'll be the people who'll try to use it for bad, but also, like, uh, for there to be progress. Like, the reason, like, AI has progressed as far as it has come is because there isn't those roadblocks. Like, I hear right now they want to create uh AI task force and anything, but by creating some of these roadblocks, at the end of the day, they slow down the progress of the progress that we can make. I know you're talking about AGI and everything, but to get there, things needs to break. We need to break certain things. So yeah, I would say, like, let's not paint a grim scenario. Like, the I've come across a lot of people, like, who paint grim scenarios of AI, which I think will take away from the what AI can do for us. Yeah.
Uh, thank you so much for that. I hope I hope that I did not come off in any way as pessimistic about this new technology. Personally, I'm extremely optimistic about the progress and the kind of level of life that this technology will bring to us. And also, I am aware, and also for me, I completely relate to the when you hear people focusing so much on the downsides and kind of not seeing the possibilities that are now enabled. I feel like I agree with you that that could be short-sighted for some people because it prevents you from really understanding what's at stake here and what's possible. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's just that it's also important to discuss the risks as much as we are, going into an incredible world. There are going to be some risks, but I'm also very optimistic, and I also prefer staying on the positive side about this technology. I don't know whether El Pisto, do you have any comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, so one more round. I talked about a few different things: explosion, superintelligence, singularity. This idea that we're gonna be looking at AI like some kind of a god. Yeah, the future is very bright because of this technology. Now is the time to begin taking advantage of it. We spoke a bit about unemployment. The best way for you to prepare yourself, in my opinion, is to specifically, yeah. So although code is automated and the process of coding itself is automated, you can now even write more code. You can now you want to be able to talk to these machines because there are going to be many of them, and you want to really understand their language. So the people who are going to be valuable are the people who can really take advantage of AI. And you right now, for you to take advantage of AI, you need to be able to learn how to code. Coding isn't very difficult, and it's a fun thing. It's not like some scientific thing. It's like a creative process, and it's fun to do once you learn how to do it. Apart from learning how to code, also media. So if you can start creating your own books, podcasts, YouTube channels, create media. Essentially, find a unique way to share your own message. Even like this podcast is part of my process of creating media and just sharing the things that you're passionate about, because that's what's going to make you uniquely you. And if you can monetize that, it's not going to be possible for that to be automated, because you're the one who's going to be doing it, and you specifically can't be replaced. So code and media, making software and also making media products. The reason why code and media is important is because these products can scale infinitely. You can have 1 million downloads, you can have 1 million listeners, you can have and just from a small thing where you've recorded with a cheap microphone, you can reach millions of people, and that's the power of this technology. So that's one way you can prepare yourself. The other way you can prepare yourself is by staying in track with the news. So this stuff is very non-intuitive. It's crazy. It sounds like we're living in a magical wonderland. And the answer is yes. I think, to me, I consider it magic. like I call it magic because it's awesome. So just stay informed, because you'll hear some weird stuff and then you'll be like, this is not possible. But then you realize, damn, it's actually possible. So fine, stay informed, learn code media, and also use your own authenticity, your own uniqueness, what makes you unique, to build a business that will insulate you from what's going to happen. So if you lose your job, you need to start building your own business. That's going to be the solution that most people will turn to. You can either start freelancing, you can start your own business. That's recommended because that's how you generate wealth, by owning a piece of a business and not necessarily working for someone else. So you start your own business, start your own idea. You can make your own channels, you can make your own podcast, you can write your own books, tell your story, and express yourself in a way that no one else can. And yeah, that's I think it's actually a good way to take advantage of all of what's about to come, and also use AI in your work all the time. So figure out ways to incorporate ChatGPT, image generators, automate your work, and all of that stuff. That's just the general advice. I really appreciate all of you for making time to hang out with me and talk about AI. I hope that you learned a few things that are interesting, and I will share. Rosa, I'm going to share with you an app to help you with AI relationships so you can understand what you're talking about. Cool. So that's it.